The alarms tore through the hive ship before I even opened my eyes. I rolled off the narrow cot they had built for me, my boots hitting the cold floor, as red light pulsed through the corridor outside my quarters. Something was wrong. Not the usual low hum of the hive going about its endless work. This was different. This was fear. I am Daniel Ashcroft, and 3 months ago, I was sent alone into the heart of an alien empire to prevent a war. Today, that war might have found me anyway. I grabbed my jacket and stepped into the hallway, where drones rushed past me in tight formation, their chitinous bodies gleaming under the emergency lights. None of them looked at me. None of them ever looked at me. Not directly. Not since the day I arrived. Only she did that. The Queen. I ran toward the central chamber, the place where she held audience, the place where I had spent countless hours trying to explain human customs to a being who processed emotion the way most people process weather reports, as something to note and then ignore. The doors slid open before I reached them, and the sight inside stopped me cold. Smoke curled near the ceiling. 2 drones lay motionless on the floor, their bodies still twitching with the last signals of a nervous system shutting down. And in the center of it all stood the Queen, her tall frame rigid, her 4 secondary arms trembling in a way I had never seen before. A rival hive had struck without warning. I would learn the details later. The borders they crossed, the resources they wanted, the years of tension boiling over into violence. In that moment, none of it mattered. What mattered was the enemy drone charging toward her from the shattered doorway behind her, blade extended, moving faster than anything with that much mass had any right to move. She did not see it. Her attention was locked on the wounded members of her hive, her mind connected to 1,000 others through the link, drowning in a flood of panic she could not process fast enough. I did not think. I ran. I hit her from the side just as the blade came down, and the impact sent us both sprawling across the floor, while the weapon meant for her spine tore through my shoulder instead. Pain exploded through me, white and total, but I did not let go of her. I rolled us behind a support pillar as the drone screeched and turned, searching for its target. One of her guards finally reacted, cutting the attacker down before it could reach us again. Silence fell, broken only by my ragged breathing and the wet sound of blood soaking through my shirt. The Queen stared at me. Her 4 eyes, usually distant and analytical, were wide with something I did not have a name for yet. "Why?" she asked, her translator flattening the word into something mechanical, though her voice beneath it trembled. "Why would you do that?" I could not answer right away. The pain made it hard to think, but even through the haze, the question confused me. Wasn't it obvious? "You were about to be killed," I said. "I was closer than your guards." "That is not a reason," she said. "That is a cost. You have offered your body as payment for mine, and you gained nothing from the exchange." I laughed, which hurt more than I expected. "Where I'm from, we don't calculate it like that," I told her. "You just move. You think about it later." She did not respond. She simply knelt beside me, which stunned every drone still conscious in that room, because queens did not kneel, not for anyone, not for anything. She pressed one of her secondary hands against the wound in my shoulder, her touch cool and precise, stopping the bleeding with an efficiency that told me she had done this before, just never for someone she was not required to save. I was taken to the medical bay after that, and I spent 2 days drifting in and out of consciousness, while human medicine and alien technology argued over how best to knit my shoulder back together. When I finally woke fully, she was sitting beside my bed. Just sitting, not observing me through a screen, not sending a drone to check my vitals and report back. Sitting there, in person, watching me breathe. "You are awake," she said, and there was something different in her voice, something that had not been there before the attack. "How long have you been here?" I asked. She paused before answering, which was unusual for her. "Since they brought you in." 2 days, I said slowly. "Yes." I studied her face, if you could call it a face, searching for the calculation I had grown used to seeing there, the endless calm assessment of every situation as data to be processed. It was not there. What replaced it looked almost like exhaustion, and beneath that, something rawer. "Ashcroft," she said, using my name for the first time without a title attached to it. I need to understand something, and I require your honesty. Always, I said. Since your arrival, I have experienced changes I cannot explain through any framework my species possesses. My hive link, which has functioned without deviation for longer than your civilization has existed, has begun producing irregularities. Members of my hive report independent thought patterns, emotional responses outside sanctioned parameters. It began roughly 2 weeks after you arrived, and it has only grown stronger since. I sat up carefully, ignoring the twinge in my shoulder. What kind of irregularities? Fear, when you leave my presence for extended periods. A sensation my scholars have compared to hunger, though it has nothing to do with nourishment, whenever I anticipate seeing you. And when that drone raised its blade toward me, before you intervened, I did not think of the hive. I did not think of my duty. I thought only of you, and whether you would still be standing afterward. The room felt very quiet. Outside I could hear the distant hum of the ship repairing itself, drones going about their work, as though the world had not just shifted beneath my feet. That's called being afraid for someone, I said quietly. It's called caring about them. I know the words, she said, her voice sharper now, almost defensive. I have heard your language enough times to know the words. What I do not know is why my body produces them for you specifically, when it has never produced them for anyone in the history of my line. Queens do not feel this. Queens observe. Queens calculate. I was bred across 1,000 generations to be free of exactly this kind of weakness, and yet here I am, unable to stop thinking about a fragile, short-lived creature who nearly died protecting something he does not even belong to. I don't think it's weakness, I said. Then what is it? She demanded, and for the first time since I had met her, I heard something crack in that flawless composure. What do you call it when a queen cannot sleep, because she keeps replaying the moment a blade nearly ended the only being who has ever looked at her, without fear or without calculation? What do you call it when I find myself grateful you are injured, because it means you are still here to be injured? I reached out with my good arm and took her hand, the cool, strange texture of it no longer foreign to me, after 3 months of shared meals, and shared silences, and slow, halting conversations about everything from human history to the taste of rain. We call it love, I said. It's not weakness. It's just about the strongest thing we've got. She went very still. I watched the words settle into her, watched her turn it over the way she turned over every new piece of information, searching for flaws, searching for a reason to reject it. But this time, there was no rejection. There was only a long, quiet breath, artificial as it was, that sounded almost human in its relief. I did not want this, she admitted. I fought it for weeks. I told myself it was curiosity, then obsession, then a flaw in my biology that would pass with time. I have never wanted anything to pass more urgently than I wanted this feeling to leave me alone. And now? I asked. Now, she said, looking at me with an intensity that made my chest tighten, I do not want it to leave at all. I am terrified of what it means for my hive, for my duties, for everything I was built to be. But I am no longer willing to pretend it does not exist simply because it frightens me. Outside the medical bay, the ship continued its slow recovery, drones repairing walls and clearing debris, life folding itself back into order after violence had torn through it. Inside, something entirely different was being built, something neither of our species had a name for yet, something that had started the moment I stepped off a shuttle onto alien soil and refused to see her as anything other than a person capable of change. She did not let go of my hand. I did not want her to. Whatever came next, whatever the councils on both sides would say when they learned that their careful diplomatic arrangement had turned into something far more complicated, we would face it together, not as ambassador and queen, not as human and alien. Just as two beings who had somehow, against every calculation and every instinct, bred into her for 1,000 generations, found each other. And for the first time since I arrived on that ship, the silence between us felt like peace instead of distance.